Namaskaram, everybody, and welcome back to the We Are Not Lonely podcast. It's been a while. It's good to be back, and it's good to be back on the mic. Today, the podcast is out a little later. I'm actually recording on the day of the podcast. I've been kind of held up with other things. Life is simultaneously getting slightly more chaotic and slightly more ordered at the same time, which is a good thing, all things considered. But my point is that I am releasing this particular podcast a little late because I went to meet friends earlier this day. And I had an amazing time there. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't caught up with these guys in a really long time. I think it's been years, actually. I don't think I've seen I've seen this particular friend since he got married. Yeah. Dude, I haven't seen him since he got married. No, wait. Perhaps I met him somewhere in between. I'm not particularly sure. I'm not sure, though. That's the thing. I think it's been a couple of years, dude. God. That's insane. I can't believe it. We live in the same city and I haven't seen him for years. I definitely haven't seen him since I left to Hyderabad. Yeah. This is hard to believe, but it's also the truth. So I just caught up with a bunch of them, and I wanted to take the time out and enjoy that particular thing. I didn't want to record the podcast in a very hurried manner, so I didn't. I've come back after the entire thing, and I'm going to sit after my dinner, edit the entire thing, put it up, do art, and then go to sleep. Because I'm a very conscientious individual. Right. So I've been wondering about what I was going to talk about today. I had a bunch of ideas. Initially, I thought I'd do something related to productivity, but I decided to put that on the side burner for now and do it a little later. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm actually collating all of my notes on certain topics, including productivity, and I'm putting them all together, trying to find out like if there's a method to the madness that I've gone through all this, because I can clearly tell that my life has become a lot more ordered. I've become a lot more organized. I've become a lot more productive and efficient with my time. But like I've said before, I'm not at 100% efficiency. I can still improve, and that's part of the process. I'm still working on it. I love the journey, and I'm enjoying this particular situation, trying to get better every single day. Like Peter Parker would say, try to do better. So that's about it, yeah. I will get back to productivity another time. I still do have to decode all of the knowledge that I've got in my podcast itself. I just want some people to know that sometimes none of this is planned. I just sit in front of a mic and I go extempo for like 45 minutes. Suffice it to say that I have a very... Shall we just say I'm very gifted with the gab? I've got the gift of the gab, whatever you want to say, however you want to put it. Right? So, my current situation is that I'm doing this sort of study on my productivity over the years, trying to understand myself. I'm using myself as a case study. And if I can sort of glean some insight into my process, maybe I'll share it with you if it's of any use. I can show you how I've gone from being absolutely unmotivated, I was a person who literally just waited for the night so I could lucid dream and do some out-of-body experiences and all of that nonsense, to becoming this person who's very committed to building a business, etc. So we'll talk about that particular thing. I'm also sort of writing down this whole journey that I've been on. I've been trying to put it down into words. And, it's quite the exciting journey. There's so much that comes to mind. I'm almost 30 now, so there's almost 2.5 decades of information stored in my head that I have to collate, more or less. Life experiences and whatnot. It's quite the interesting journey, I'll tell you that much. So anyway, today is going to be about the birth of this YouTube channel. Maybe this would have been more fitting for the 50th episode, but I'm somebody who likes to break the rules and all of that nonsense. I don't believe in labels. I hate the AM, I hate the PM. My name's Obi. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my British accent is atrocious, huh? It brings back memories. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that today we're going to be talking about the whole journey of this particular channel, how it began, what the plans are. Maybe I won't reveal the plans. I mean, the plan is just to keep creating content and enjoy the journey. That's it. Just enjoy the process of creating content. And as long as I do that, I think I can keep going forward. And I think I do particularly enjoy the process of sitting in a mic and just going on a rant. It's very freeing to the mind, I won't lie. It's had a lot of benefits over the years. I've become a lot more focused. I've become a person who focuses on getting things done no matter what. Today is Friday, it's very late, but I'm still sitting here in front of the mic because I made a commitment to put out an episode every week, no matter what. And I'm here to do that. And I'm gonna do it. That's about it. So, anyway, let's go back. Let's do this one last time. There's so many Spider-Man references, huh? I've watched that movie. I love that movie. So, I guess, yeah. This is gonna be the scene. Maybe a lot of Spider-Man themed artwork is coming your way. I will never tell. Go check out my Instagram for that. We'll see you there. Alright. Okay, so let's start with this, okay? Let's start with the humble origins of my particular content creation journey. I'm going to be telling this when I become famous, when I hit 100,000 subs, when I hit 1 million subs. I'm going to look back to this moment and look at this particular podcast. I'm going to freeze this moment in time to say right now I have 61 subs. I started this channel. I took up this channel seriously as a sort of a challenge, as a sort of a pledge in Jan 2022. Jan 21st, if I remember correctly. Jan 21st, 2022, that was when the first episode 2 of the We Are Not Lonely podcast came out. I will eventually tell you what happened to episode 1, but not right now. I will keep that particular thing kind of hidden. We shall see. So, back in 2021, this was post the pandemic, I decided to start streaming on Twitch. I was pushed into this whole thing by one of my friends at the time. And so I decided to do art. We were supporting each other on Twitch. Both of us were streaming on Twitch. He would support me, I would support him whenever possible. I would listen and critique his streams, and I would just be annoying at certain points, and he would try to do the same for me. But that was when I started. So November 2021, I decided to do this 100 hands challenge. I had already done 100 days of art challenge 2 years prior to that, and November that year, I decided, okay, I'm going to improve my knowledge of drawing hands, and I decided to draw 100 hands every single day until I reached 100 hands. And so that's how the journey began. And what I would do is I would stream on Twitch. I would draw about 5 to 6 hands. It would take me approximately I would do warm up for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I would draw on total for at least an hour. So that would mean 40 minutes of drawing, 15 to 20 minutes of just warm up. Just sketches and draftsmanship exercises, all of that. So what I did was, okay, I had this extra content anyway. I was using copyright-free music. So I would just take the entire thing. I would record the entire file and just put it up onto YouTube as well. At that particular time, I had no idea about video editing. I had no idea because At one particular point, I had streamed for 1.5 or 2 hours, and I wasn't able to download the entire stream from Twitch. I had to download it in parts, and that's what I did. I downloaded it in parts, and I uploaded it in parts as well, because I didn't even know the basics of how to place things onto a timeline at that point. So that's what I did, and I started posting stuff on YouTube, and that's not available on YouTube anymore. I just deleted it recently. I'm thinking of redoing that entire thing once more. Maybe I'll start streaming more on YouTube. I already have. I've done art. I've played some games, and I'm trying to make it a weekly thing. But weekends are so difficult, man. Generally, I like staying in, but something seems to be happening these days. I'm going out more. It's the February effect. That's what I'm going to call it. The February effect and the episode of March. The March episode. So, my point is, that's how I began. It wasn't anything fancy. I was just streaming on Twitch. It was a faceless stream. I would stream me doing practice. I was drawing on my Wacom drawing tablet on Clip Studio Pro, and I was just like, hey, I'm doing this on the computer anyway. I'm going to do this every day anyway. Why don't I just put it up? And my friend was like, yeah, why don't you do it? And I was like, okay. And I did it. And it wasn't very good. I have to admit, it wasn't like my channel blew up or anything. I barely had any subscribers. Nothing was really happening. Just to, what do you call it? Manage your expectations. Nothing really happened for a very long time. Okay, so I kept doing that, and I kept talking about how I wanted to take the YouTube channel forward. And I suppose that kind of annoyed my friend. I kept telling him that I wanted to start a podcast, but I never did anything about it. And every time he asked, I was like, oh, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. And I never really got around to doing it. Until one day where he called me on Discord, and we had this daily thing. We would just like talk and annoy each other. That was like part of our daily routine. So eventually what happened was he ended up calling me, and he's like, open up your recording program. Oh, let's do this. And we started recording. We had a conversation. It was quite the interesting conversation. Episode 1 never saw the light of day for reasons that I'm not going to elaborate. Maybe ever. But maybe I'm just keeping up the suspense so that you listen to our podcasts more often. I'll never tell. So the point was, at that particular time, I had stopped streaming on Twitch. I was still on Twitch. I was still drawing every day, but I wasn't putting out content as much. Art was my main thing. I was a semi-professional artist. I was getting a decent amount. I wasn't getting a decent amount. I had one client, my friend, and he was trying to get me more clients. I was trying to put myself out there and find myself more clients, but the thing wasn't particularly working. So eventually he was like, hey, you know what? We're doing this. He called me on Discord. He made me open up my art program. And then we just ended up recording the entire conversation. It was a lot of fun, I won't lie. It was a great deal of fun. Because our conversations with each other are, generally speaking, quite interesting. We have very intense conversations. We're very intense people. And the conversation just had a great deal of, the conversation was just a lot of fun. And I enjoyed it. And he was like, you know what, send the files to me. I'll do the mixing. He said, send the file to me. I'll do the mixing, mastering. You're the one in charge of uploading things. And I was like, yeah, sure. Well, let's do that. And that's what we did. He and I would get onto a Discord call every once in a while, and we would record our conversation. Generally, there was no real structure at that particular point, and this particular journey started on the 21st of Jan, thanks to my friend. So I'm just going to put it out there. This podcast wouldn't exist without him, man. I owe him a great deal of gratitude for this particular fact, for pushing me to do this, to take this particular step. So things just kept going, and time passed, and eventually I had to do the podcast alone at particular points, and I enjoyed that particular thing. So he would call me and tell me to do the podcast the next time by myself because, he wasn't waking up in the mornings. Generally speaking, my friend has had issues waking up in the morning at that particular time. Like, I think you can find out if you listen to the early episodes of the podcast, you can listen to him crib about waking up early in the morning, about how he's so sleep deprived, and so on and so forth. It's a great deal of fun, I'll tell you that much. It was hilarious. So that's the dynamic that we had, and I suppose I enjoyed the process of making the podcast itself. I loved sitting down in front of the mic and having a conversation with a good friend. And that's how it went on for a very long time. And slowly over time, I started doing the podcast more and more by myself. I would sit down by myself and do it. So around June, situations occurred and I was no longer able to keep the podcast happening. I had to move to Hyderabad, and I've made an entire episode, I've made an entire video talking about my shift to Hyderabad. Let me summarize. I went there to teach martial arts, and there was this period of instability. So for a very long period, from June, July, August, there was some instability. We stopped recording the podcast around that time. I think my friend put out a couple of podcasts for a little while, and then there was a 3-month hiatus. Episode 27? 28, 29. Episode 29 was about phone cases. Episode 28 was about ankle socks, which were completely done by my friend, and all credit goes to him. I'm really thankful that he kept the torch running at that particular time. So that was uploaded on September 9th, and the other one was uploaded on September 2nd. So the podcast kept running, and after that we just stopped. I suppose it was, this was supposed to be my thing, and my friend was like, I'm just doing you a favor. This is not going to be a daily thing. This is not going to be a weekly thing. So we decided to, you know what, it's fine. Just stop. And this was around the time that my friend was going to get married and all of that. I've spoken about that particular thing as well in my video. This is why I disappeared for 4 months. So go check it out. Link somewhere in the bio. Maybe it'll pop up on screen. I'll never know. I'll never tell. So that whole situation happened, and I took a break at that particular time. Like, once the podcast started up again, it was just me. From episode 30 onwards, it's been nearly 19, almost 20 episodes now. It's just been me doing the entire thing by myself, talking about something, going on a rant for hours just on some random topic. So that's how the podcast came to be. That's how this channel came to be. And when I was in Hyderabad, what happened was I was actually doing a lot of video work. I was taking a lot of videos for my guru, my martial arts guru. And we wanted to catch more clients by showcasing our training methods and so on and so forth. So I had to wear a bunch of caps, man. It was a lot of work, I won't lie. I did a bunch of things. I got exposed to a lot of things. I got a lot of experience. I was doing marketing. I was doing literally trying to close deals. I was doing marketing. I was trying to find leads, generate leads, close leads. I was also at that time doing graphic design. I was doing logo design, and all of this for the entire company, for my guru. And I learned a lot, I won't lie. I became a lot more confident during that particular time. And of course, I was also teaching martial arts, which requires a decent amount of confidence by itself. So all of this happened. And when I came back, I was finally you know what? I have the chops. I am confident enough. I'm pretty sure I can shoot videos. And it was just a talking head at that point. I would just throw in a little B-roll every once in a while during the transitions and whatnot. So that's how the We Are Not Lonely podcast came to be and how it evolved into this whole channel. I mean, it's still a process. Out of the 61, 62 videos that I've done, 49 of them, 48 of them are primarily just me talking with no video. We actually had plans of creating this whole content creation company a very long time back. And this was sometime in November 2019. Both of us sat down and we thought about what we wanted to achieve in our lives, and we just came to a consensus that, hey, why don't we try doing things together? Because at that particular point, we had already recorded a song, and we thought we'd do more songs and sort of create like a whole short movie around promoting our album, sorry. And we made a bunch of plans. We decided to meet sometime in Jan, Feb. And we parted because my friend had to leave to the UK for a while, and I had to stay in Mysore for a while. We had this whole plan put together. I was supposed to move to Bangalore. We'd been working on a script. We took some shots. We had a bunch of things, and then the pandemic hit. So after that, the last time I saw this particular friend was in 2019, November, December, the end of the year. And the next time I saw him was in 2022 at his wedding when he was getting married. And if I had a penny for every time if I had $1 for every single time that happened, meeting a friend in 2019 and then making plans and being unable to meet and then meeting them at their wedding, I'd have like $2, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. And I've spoken about this in one of the videos, Weddings in Chaos, the trip to Chennai vlog. So what happened was we had a band. We were planning to call the band The Alter Ego, and we had this whole universe of things planned. I was writing scripts, I was learning to animate, I was learning to do some basic pixel animations, and we were doing a decent amount of work. But then unfortunately things didn't quite pan out. For some reason everything fell apart, mostly due to the pandemic, and things didn't quite materialize. And then the pandemic ended and we were still not able to meet. 2022 happened. We finally decided, hey, let's meet in Bangalore. And my situation occurred. He actually ended up going to Bangalore. I met a couple of his friends in Bangalore, but the two of us never quite met in Bangalore after 2019, which is kind of sad, I guess. But yeah. So after some time, the song was already recorded. My friend had been working on it all this while. And sometime in 22, I think, in the beginning of 2022, we decided to put out the song. Let me just... It was sometime in 2022, I think. I don't quite remember. This is funny. Let me just check. So, the song premiered in 2021. Oh, 2021. Damn, okay. September 23, 2021. Not 22, my mistake. And I was looking at the wrong area. So that happened. We put out a song in September of 2021, and we had a bunch of plans to make more. We were supposed to meet and all of that. And I had been writing songs in the meantime. My friend had been writing songs in the meantime. And this whole, the We Are Not Lonely thing was actually something that we came up with together during the pandemic, just to remind each other and a bunch of others that, we're not really alone. Don't worry, we're all each here for each other. So that's the story of how this channel came to be. I'm not gonna lie, it's been one hell of a journey. Not all of it has been easy, even though it is just like this tiny thing that I'm doing and I'm putting out. It's a faceless podcast. We've sort of grown from nothing to having 61 subs, which is really cool. And I'm really grateful for every one of you. I just want to mention the fact that I do also have a blog. I used to post there quite often during the Hyderabad phase, and I think it's hit about 21 subscribers at this point, which is again really cool. So all in all, I have a grand total. I have an army of 82 subscribers across the internet, which is really cool. And I'm grateful for all of this. It's humbling to just think about 81 people, 82 people just there listening and liking my content. It's really cool. Thank you. I'm very grateful. But not all of it has been, a bed of roses. It's not always been comfortable. It's not always been easy. Quite a few people don't really understand what I'm trying to do. I do understand that YouTube is a long-term game, and I had plans on, just getting some random job so I could stick it through. You do need to get to the 4-5 year mark of consistently making videos. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll hit payday long before that. But I'm here for the long run. Eventually, I do see this channel getting monetized. I hope. It would be nice. But for now, I know that's a long way off, and that's okay. I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the whole process of creating content and all of that. It's beautiful. And that's what I'm here for. As long as I love the process, I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm not going to lie. Very few of my friends are very supportive of this particular thing. A lot of them, they make very valid criticism. But the thing is, I'm not really for short form content. Another friend has told me multiple times that perhaps my time would be better suited to another activity. Perhaps if I put all of this energy and time, it's almost 5 hours a week into my business, that business would skyrocket. But I'm just like, dude, it's 5 hours a week. It's not that much time. I spend more time sleeping. I'm not cutting out sleep. Sleep is important. That was just a joke. Never cut out sleep. The moment you start cutting sleep out, the quality of your life decreases a great deal. And I would never advocate for that. So, yeah. Everybody wants short content at this particular time. We've got Reels, you've got TikToks, you've got YouTube Shorts. You just scroll, you have an attention span of maybe a minute. You have nearly 5 to 10 seconds to capture the interest of a particular person, or they're going to swipe away. And in this particular world with such a short attention span, I'm making faceless videos of me just talking into a mic for hours. Almost half an hour or so, on a regular basis. And I understand that, this is understandable. It's not something that everybody will want. It's a very rare kind of... I know the kind of person that I'm making this content for. It's basically for someone like me. So what I would do when I was doing art studies back in the day, and I would be drawing for hours, I would just play a podcast in the background. Initially, it was just Jordan Peterson's classes. And eventually, I found out that Jordan Peterson had been on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I started listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. And that was one of the main podcasts. I picked really interesting podcasts to listen to. One was, I think, the Elon Musk. Another was the Gad Saad. I listened to Bill Burr. I listen to a lot of comedy while I write, while I draw. I listen to a lot of comedy and all that when I draw. And that's how I did my art. I would also listen to music once in a while when I did the art. But the whole thing of having to search for music and all kind of put me off until I started listening to full albums. It was during this whole journey that I became a fan of Kanye West and J. Cole. And I rediscovered my love for rap and hip-hop. It was really, it was really cool. I won't lie. It's been this amazing journey of self-discovery. But my point was, whenever I was drawing, whenever I was doing studies, things that didn't really require me to focus on things, I would be passively learning by listening to an interesting podcast. And that's always been what I've done so far. When I would draw, I would listen to something. Initially, it was lo-fi, then it slowly became other forms of music, and then it became a podcast, and then eventually it evolved and it went back to music, and now it's primarily podcasts. So that's the kind of audience I'm looking for. It would be nice for, an artist who wants to do better, not necessarily art, but in life, because I do think that I've put out a decent amount of content that I've researched quite well. Granted, not every episode is at that same quality. But I have studied certain things and I'm trying to put it all together. And I enjoy the process. And I hope that some kid out there is sitting and listening to my podcast while drawing. I think that would be really cool. And that's my target audience, I suppose. For this podcast, at least in the initial phase. People, artists, who just want some background noise to drown out the thoughts. But yeah, that's about it, man. And I'm getting sleepy. And I still haven't edited. I still need to eat. So I'm going to cut this particular podcast short. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. It's been wonderful. I will see you again next week on Friday. Until then, peace. Punarmilam, Jai Shri Ram.